Welcome to Untold Whispers. I'm your narrator tonight, here to share a story both haunting and peaceful. Take a deep breath, dim the lights, let the night settle in. Before we begin, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more quiet chills. Tell me where you're watching from. I'd love to know who's still awake with me tonight. I moved to Seattle in August 2024 for a fresh start. New job, new apartment in Capitol Hill, new life. At 26, I figured it was time to put myself out there again. So I downloaded Hinge, filled out my profile with the usual stuff. My love for indie coffee shops, hiking photos from back home, a few carefully selected pictures that made me look approachable but not desperate. His name was Jake, or at least that's what his profile said. He messaged me first on a rainy Tuesday evening. Nothing unusual about that. What caught my attention was his opening line. "I bet you're the type who names your pets after literary characters. How's Gatsby doing?" I stared at my phone. My cat's name was Gatsby, but I'd never mentioned him online. Not on Hinge, not on Instagram, nowhere. I scrolled back through my profile. No photos of my cat, no mention of pets at all. Maybe he's just guessing, I thought. Gatsby is a popular name. "How did you know I have a cat named Gatsby?" I typed back. "Lucky guess," he replied with a winking emoji. "You seem like a Fitzgerald fan." I wasn't. I'd named my cat Gatsby because my grandmother loved that book, but I let it slide. His profile looked good. Software engineer, 28, loved hiking and trying new restaurants. His photos showed a guy with kind eyes and an easy smile. We talked for 3 days straight. That's when things started feeling off. "I've been craving a good cortado," he messaged on Friday morning. "Ever been to that place on Pine Street? The one with the blue awning? I heard their pastries are incredible." My hands went cold. Slate Coffee Roasters, the cafe with the blue awning on Pine Street. I went there every Tuesday morning before work. Always ordered a cortado and a blueberry scone. Always sat at the corner table by the window. I'd never posted about it, never checked in, never tagged the location. "How do you know about that place?" I asked, trying to keep my tone casual. "Friend recommended it." "Why? Is it your spot? Maybe we should meet there for our first date." I wanted to believe him. I really did. But something in my gut twisted. "Want to know something crazy?" he messaged that night. "I grew up on Maple Drive too. Small world, right?" I dropped my phone. Maple Drive, my childhood street in Spokane. I'd never mentioned it to anyone in Seattle. It wasn't on my social media. It wasn't anywhere online. I'd been careful about that stuff since college, after a friend had her identity stolen. My hands shook as I picked up my phone. "What are you talking about?" "Your childhood street. You mentioned it the other day." "No, I didn't." The 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Appeared again. My mistake. Must have been someone else. But we both knew that wasn't true. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept going through our conversations, trying to find where I might have slipped up, where I might have mentioned these details. Nothing. At 2 in the morning, paranoia eating at me, I decided to reverse image search his photos. The first result made my stomach drop. Stock photo, Getty Images. Handsome man smiling outdoors. The photo had been used in advertisements, blog posts, corporate websites. The man in those pictures wasn't Jake. Jake didn't exist. I sat in my dark bedroom, the glow of my laptop screen illuminating my face, and felt the walls close in. Someone was using a fake profile. Someone who knew things about me, specific, intimate things I'd never shared online. Someone was watching me. My phone buzzed. A new message from Jake. "You're probably tired from moving those boxes around today. Your back must be killing you." I hadn't mentioned moving any boxes, but that afternoon, I'd rearranged my bedroom furniture. I'd moved my dresser, my bookshelf, struggled with my bed frame for 20 minutes. Inside my apartment, where no one could see me. unless they were watching. I jumped up and checked every window. All locked, curtains drawn. I grabbed a chair and wedged it under my bedroom door handle. My heart hammered so hard I could hear it in my ears. Another message. By the way, I really like your new bedroom curtains. The gray ones. Much better than those cream-colored ones you had before. I'd hung new curtains yesterday. Gray linen curtains I'd bought from Target. I'd taken down the cream ones that came with the apartment. No one knew that. No one had been in my apartment except me. I called the police at 3:47 a.m. The dispatcher sounded skeptical at first. Another dating app creep probably. But when I explained about the curtains, about the specific details, her tone changed. 2 officers arrived within 20 minutes. A woman in her 40s and a younger guy who looked fresh out of the academy. They took my statement, screenshots of the messages, everything. The female officer asked if anyone had access to my apartment. Just me and the maintenance staff, I guess. But they'd need to give notice before entering, right? The officers exchanged a glance. They checked my apartment. Every room, every closet, every window. In my bedroom vent, behind the decorative grate, they found it. A small wireless camera, no bigger than a button, pointed directly at my bed. I thought I might throw up. The investigation moved quickly after that. The camera's IP address led them to someone in my building. Not a random stalker. Not some hacker halfway across the world. The maintenance worker. A man named Derek, who'd let himself into my apartment 6 times over the past month. To check the heating system. To inspect for pests. To ensure everything was working properly. He'd installed cameras. He'd watched me sleep, change clothes, live my entire life. He'd created the Jake profile using details he'd learned from watching me, from going through my things when I wasn't home, from following me to the cafe every Tuesday morning. The police found cameras in 4 other apartments in my building, all young women living alone, all recent transplants to Seattle who'd signed leases in the past 6 months. I moved out the next week, broke my lease, lost my deposit, didn't care. I'm in a new apartment in Fremont now, with a security system and cameras of my own. I check every vent, every smoke detector, every corner of every room. I deleted Hinge, deleted all my dating apps, because here's what keeps me up at night. It wasn't the app that made me vulnerable. It was the person I'd trusted with a key to my home, the one who was supposed to keep me safe. And I let him in willingly, smiled at him in the hallway, thanked him for his help. Sometimes I still get texts from unknown numbers, just photos of gray curtains, or the Slate Coffee Roasters logo, or the word Gatsby. They never traced all his burner phones, and I still don't know if he's watching. I'd been on Bumble for about 3 months when I matched with her. Let's call her Amy. The conversation flowed easily. She was funny, smart, worked in graphic design. We decided to meet at the Roosevelt Room on a Friday night in March. The date was perfect. Actually, it was better than perfect. We talked for hours over craft cocktails. She laughed at my terrible jokes about coding bugs. I loved how she gestured wildly when she got excited about her design projects. Around midnight, when the bar started closing, she touched my arm and said, "I don't want this night to end. Want to come back to my place for one more drink?" Every guy's dream, right? Her apartment was in East Austin, a neat 1-bedroom with plants everywhere and abstract art on the walls. She poured us wine, we talked more, and at some point we kissed. I remember feeling lucky, really genuinely lucky. That's the last clear memory I have of Friday night. I woke up Saturday morning with my head pounding like someone had split it open. The sunlight streaming through unfamiliar curtains felt like knives in my eyes. I was on a couch, fully dressed except for my shoes, with a blanket draped over me. "Good morning, sleepyhead." Amy was standing in the kitchen doorway wearing an apron, smiling brightly. Too brightly. The smell of bacon and coffee filled the apartment. "I made us breakfast. You were so tired last night, you just crashed. Hope you don't mind that I let you sleep. My mouth felt like cotton. What time is it? Almost 11. Come on, eat before it gets cold. I sat at her small dining table, trying to piece together the night. Had I really just fallen asleep on her couch? That wasn't like me. I barely drank 2 glasses of wine. The breakfast was elaborate. Eggs, bacon, pancakes, fresh fruit. She sat across from me, watching me eat with an intensity that made my skin crawl. This is great, but I should probably head out soon, I said, pushing back from the table. I've got some errands to run. Her smile faltered. Already? But we're having such a nice time. Yeah, it's been great. Maybe we can do this again. Stay for lunch. I'll make something special. I really can't. Please. Her voice had an edge to it now. You promised we'd spend the weekend together. I hadn't promised anything. I was sure of that. I don't think I said that. You did. Last night. You said you wanted to spend the whole weekend getting to know me. She stood up, walked to the front door, and I heard the distinct click of the deadbolt locking. It's dangerous out there anyway. Better to stay inside where it's safe. Something cold slithered down my spine. Amy, I need to leave. Not yet. She was still smiling, but it didn't reach her eyes anymore. We barely had any time together. You wouldn't want to hurt my feelings, would you? I tried to keep my voice calm. Of course not. But I really do need to go home. After lunch, I insist. The way she said insist made it clear this wasn't a request. I spent the next few hours trying to leave. Every time I mentioned going home, she'd get upset. Not angry, exactly, but wounded. She'd say things like, I thought you liked me, or why are you being so mean? When I tried the front door, I found she'd locked it with a key that she kept in her pocket. It's for safety, she kept saying. The neighborhood can be sketchy. By Saturday evening, my unease had turned to real fear. I checked my pockets for my phone. Gone. My wallet was there, my keys, but no phone. Looking for something, Amy asked from the couch, where she was scrolling through her own phone. My phone. Have you seen it? You probably left it at the bar. I had it when we got here. I remember checking it. She shrugged. Maybe you dropped it somewhere. I searched the living room, the bathroom, everywhere I could think of. Nothing. That night, she made dinner. Pasta with homemade sauce. She poured us more wine. I didn't drink mine. I noticed she kept watching me, waiting for me to drink. You don't like the wine? She asked. I'm not really thirsty. Her jaw tightened. I picked it out special for you. I took a tiny sip. She smiled. I woke up Sunday morning on the couch again, still fully dressed, with no memory of going to sleep. My head felt stuffed with wool. Whatever she'd put in that wine, it was strong. This time when I woke up, Amy was sitting in a chair across from me, just watching me sleep. When she saw my eyes open, she smiled. Good morning, baby. Did you sleep well? Baby. She was calling me baby now. Amy, this has gone too far. I need to leave, right now. But it's only Sunday. You promised the whole weekend. I never promised that. Her face darkened. Yes, you did. I stood up, headed for the door. She was faster. She blocked my path, and for the first time, I saw real anger in her eyes. Everyone leaves, she said quietly. Everyone always leaves too soon. But you're different. You're going to stay. Please move. No. I'm not a small guy. I'm 6 feet tall, I go to the gym. But something about the way she stood there, completely calm, completely certain, made me hesitate. What would happen if I tried to physically move her? Fine, I said, backing away. I'll stay. Her smile returned. I knew you would. You're so much nicer than the others. The others. That phrase echoed in my head all afternoon. I pretended to watch TV with her, pretended everything was normal, while my mind raced. I needed to find my phone. I needed to get out. When she went to the bathroom, I moved fast. I checked drawers, cabinets, anywhere she might have hidden it. In the kitchen, I opened the freezer, looking for, I don't know what. Ice packs to stay awake. That's when I saw them. 4 phones, frozen solid in Ziploc bags. Samsung, iPhone, another iPhone, a Google Pixel, all different, all carefully preserved. And my iPhone, the newest addition to her collection. My heart stopped. The bathroom door opened. I slammed the freezer shut and spun around. Amy stood in the doorway, no longer smiling. In her right hand, she held a kitchen knife, not threatening me with it, just holding it casually at her side. "You weren't supposed to find those yet," she said softly. "Amy, they all left too soon, before we really got to know each other, before they understood how good we could be together." She took a step closer. "But you won't leave, will you?" I held up my hands. "No, I won't leave. Promise. I promise." She studied my face for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay, I believe you." She set the knife on the counter. "I'm tired. Let's take a nap." She led me to the bedroom, the first time I'd seen it. She lay down on the bed and patted the space beside her. I lay down, rigid, staring at the ceiling while she curled against my side. "This is nice," she murmured. "This is how it should be." I waited. 20 minutes. 30. Her breathing deepened, became regular. I counted to 100, then slowly, carefully, extracted myself from the bed. She didn't stir. I tiptoed to the bathroom and closed the door as quietly as possible. There was a window above the toilet, small but big enough. I climbed onto the toilet tank, pushed the window open, and squeezed through. I was 3 floors up. There was a tree close to the building, branches within reach. I didn't think. I just grabbed and climbed down, scraping my arms and legs, not caring about the pain. When my feet hit the ground, I ran. I found a gas station 6 blocks away and used their phone to call 911. The police came, took my statement, went to her apartment. She was gone. The apartment was empty of personal items, like she'd never lived there at all. The phones were still in the freezer. The detective told me later that they traced the other phones. 4 different men, all from dating apps. All reported missing time after dates with a woman matching Amy's description. One guy had been missing for 5 days before he escaped. None of them got their phones back. She'd wiped them all. They never found her. The apartment was a short-term rental under a fake name. Amy doesn't exist. The photos she used on Bumble were stolen from someone's Instagram. I filed a police report, got a new phone, deleted all my dating apps. But here's what keeps me up at night. I wasn't the first, and that apartment wasn't empty when the cops arrived by chance. She'd planned it. The locks, the drugs, the freezer full of trophies. She'd done this before, successfully, and somewhere out there, she's doing it again. I've always been open-minded about dating. At 24, finishing my master's in environmental science at Portland State, I figured I'd explored most of what Tinder had to offer. So when I saw their profile, a couple looking for a third, I was curious, not judgmental. Their photos showed them hiking at Silver Falls, laughing over brunch, holding hands at a concert. They looked happy, normal. The bio was respectful, clearly stating they were looking for someone to connect with. No pressure, just seeing where things go. He messaged first, said his name was Tyler, and his girlfriend was Jenna. They'd been together 3 years and wanted to explore adding someone to their dynamic. He was articulate, asked about my thesis on watershed conservation, made me laugh with a joke about Portland's obsession with kombucha. When Jenna joined the chat, her messages were shorter, more reserved, but I figured she was just shy. Not everyone is comfortable being forward online. We agreed to meet for dinner at Sizzle Pie on a Wednesday evening in July. Casual, public, low pressure. I got there first, ordered a cider, and waited near the window booth they'd suggested. When they walked in, I recognized them immediately. Tyler was tall, conventionally handsome, wearing a flannel shirt that screamed Portland native. Jenna was petite, blonde, beautiful in a delicate way. She wore a yellow sundress despite the evening chill. "You must be our date," Tyler said, grinning as he slid into the booth. Jenna followed, sitting next to him, her hands folded in her lap. The first hour was pleasant enough. We ordered pizza, their recommendation, the pesto with goat cheese. Tyler dominated the conversation, asking about my research, telling stories about their recent trip to Bend, explaining how they decided to open their relationship. I kept trying to engage Jenna. "What do you do for work?" I asked. Tyler answered. "She's between jobs right now, trying to figure out her next move." "What kind of work are you interested in?" I directed the question at her. She opened her mouth, but Tyler jumped in. "She's got a background in hospitality. Great with people, just needs the right opportunity." Jenna nodded, barely making eye contact with me. Something felt off. Not quite wrong, but incomplete, like listening to a conversation through a wall. "So, Jenna," I said firmly, holding her gaze, "what do you like to do for fun?" She looked at Tyler before answering, actually looked at him, as if asking permission. I like reading." "What are you reading now?" Another glance at Tyler. "She's into mysteries," he said, reaching over to squeeze her hand. "Always has her nose in a book." That's when I saw it. Just for a second. When he touched her hand, her whole body tensed. Her shoulders drew up, her jaw clenched. Then she forced a smile and relaxed, but I'd seen it. Fear. The pizza arrived. Tyler served us all, cutting slices, putting one on Jenna's plate like she couldn't do it herself. She ate mechanically, chewing slowly, never speaking unless directly addressed. "You two seem great together," I said, testing. "How did you meet?" Tyler launched into a story about a coffee shop meet cute. Jenna stared at her plate. "Maybe I'm overthinking this," I told myself. "Some people are just quiet. Some women let their partners take the lead in conversations. It doesn't mean anything sinister, but my gut kept screaming that something was very, very wrong." After dinner, Tyler suggested we continue the evening at their place. "We've got a beautiful view from the West Hills. We can have wine, talk more comfortably, see if there's a real connection here." Every instinct told me to decline, but then Jenna looked at me, really looked at me, and in her eyes I saw something that made my blood run cold. Desperation. "Sure," I heard myself say. "That sounds nice." We took separate cars. I followed their Subaru through winding roads into the West Hills, expensive homes with manicured lawns and security gates. They pulled into a driveway halfway up the hill. The house was modern, all windows and cedar siding. Inside was immaculate. Minimalist furniture, abstract art, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city lights. Tyler poured wine. Jenna excused herself to the bathroom. "She's warming up to you," Tyler said, handing me a glass. "She's cautious with new people, but I can tell she likes you." I sipped the wine, looking around. Everything was perfect. Too perfect. Like a staged home in a real estate listing. No clutter, no personality, no photos except the ones of Tyler and Jenna that matched their Tinder profile exactly. "I'm going to grab some cheese from the kitchen," Tyler said. "Make yourself comfortable." The moment he disappeared, Jenna materialized beside me. I hadn't even heard her approach. She grabbed my wrist, her fingernails digging into my skin, and leaned close. "Please don't leave me alone with him," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Please." Before I could respond, she released my wrist and stepped back, plastering on a smile as Tyler returned with a cheese board. My heart hammered against my ribs. "Actually, could I use your bathroom?" "Down the hall, second door on the left." I walked slowly, processing what just happened. Jenna's whisper played on repeat in my head. The bathroom was as pristine as the rest of the house. I locked the door and pulled out my phone, hand shaking. Should I call the police? And say what? A woman at a party asked me not to leave. They'd think I was paranoid. I needed to know more. I quietly unlocked the bathroom door and crept down the hallway. There were 3 other doors. The first was an office. The second was locked. The third opened to a bedroom. The bed was made perfectly, hotel corner sheets, decorative pillows arranged just so. But when I knelt down to look underneath, my stomach lurched. Chains, heavy chains, bolted to the floor beneath the bed frame, just barely visible in the shadows, and next to them, a duffel bag. I pulled it out with trembling hands and unzipped it. Rope, duct tape, zip ties, a stun gun. Find everything okay? I spun around. Tyler stood in the doorway, no longer smiling. In his hand was a glass of wine, my wine, and he was looking at it, not at me. "You didn't drink much of this," he said softly. "That's unfortunate." I dropped the bag and ran. He didn't chase me. He didn't have to. He simply stepped into the hallway, blocking the path to the front door, and called out, "Jenna, honey, could you come here?" I veered into the kitchen instead, Jenna appearing from somewhere behind me. "The back door," she gasped, pointing. We ran together, her hand in mine, through the sliding glass door and onto the deck. The neighbor's house was lit up, maybe 50 yards through the trees. "He'll come after us," she sobbed, as we crashed through the underbrush. Then we run faster. The neighbor was an older woman who took one look at us, scratched, crying, terrified, and ushered us inside while she called 911. The police arrived within minutes. Tyler was gone. The house was empty, the chains removed, the duffel bag vanished. But the responding officers took our statements seriously, especially when they ran Jenna's name. She'd been reported missing 8 months earlier from Boise, Idaho. Her family had been searching for her. Tyler, not his real name, had methodically isolated her, controlled her, used her as bait to lure other women. The detective told me later they found evidence of at least 3 other women who'd come to that house. One was still missing. They never caught him. The house was a rental under a fake name. His Tinder profile disappeared. Jenna's testimony helped them build a case, but there was no one to arrest. She's safe now, back with her family in Boise. We text sometimes. She's in therapy, trying to piece her life back together. I still get calls from blocked numbers. No one speaks, just breathing on the other end. My roommate says I'm paranoid, that it's probably spam callers, but I know better. He's still out there, still looking, and I wonder how many women have swiped right on his new profile, trusting his smile, believing his promises. I wonder if any of them will be lucky enough to run. January in Brooklyn hits different when you're single and freelancing. The cold seeps into your bones, and your apartment feels smaller every day. That's probably why I was still on Hinge at 31, swiping through the same recycled profiles I'd seen a dozen times before. Then I matched with her. Her profile name was Melissa. Photographer too, though she focused on street photography while I did commercial work. Her photos showed someone adventurous. Rooftop shots at sunset, candid moments in Washington Square Park, a self-portrait with a film camera that made her look mysterious and interesting. Our first conversation lasted 3 hours. She knew the technical stuff, aperture, shutter speed, the grain of different film stocks, but also had opinions on the artistic side. We argued playfully about whether digital could ever capture the soul of film. She recommended a gallery in Bushwick I'd never heard of. I told her about a vintage camera shop in the East Village. It felt easy, natural, like talking to someone I'd known for years instead of minutes. We texted every day for 2 weeks. Good morning messages turned into all-day conversations about everything and nothing. She told me about growing up in Chicago, moving to New York for art school, struggling to make it as a creative in an expensive city. I shared my own stories. The corporate job I'd quit 3 years ago, the uncertainty of freelance life, the satisfaction of capturing a perfect shot. She never pushed to meet up. I like that. No desperation, no pressure, just genuine connection. "I've been thinking," she texted one Tuesday night in late January. "We should finally meet. I know this great spot in Red Hook has amazing views of the Manhattan skyline, perfect for photographers like us." "Restaurant?" I asked. Better. It's this old warehouse that's been converted into an event space. They do pop-up dinners there. Very underground, very Brooklyn. My friend is running one this Friday at 8. Interested? I'd heard of these pop-up dinner things. Secret locations, word of mouth only, experimental menus. It sounded exactly like something a creative type in Brooklyn would be into. Send me the address. She did. A location pin in Red Hook, near the waterfront. The area was industrial, still gentrifying. A weird mix of art studios and shipping warehouses. Come hungry, she added, and bring your camera. The lighting is incredible. Friday came with freezing rain and wind that cut through my jacket. I took the F train to Carroll Street and walked the 15 minutes to the address, my camera bag slung over my shoulder, boots splashing through icy puddles. Red Hook at night is deserted. Not the trendy kind of deserted, the actually sketchy kind. Empty streets, shuttered businesses, the kind of darkness that makes you check over your shoulder every few seconds. Something didn't feel right. Maybe it was the neighborhood, maybe it was the cold, but my instincts were screaming at me to turn around. I arrived at the address 20 minutes early. Not fashionably early, photographer early. When you shoot for a living, you learn to scout locations before you need them. Check the lighting, find the angles, understand the space. The building matched the pin she'd sent. A massive brick warehouse, 4 stories tall, windows either boarded up or broken. No sign of a pop-up dinner. No people, no music, no light except a faint glow coming from somewhere on the ground floor. I walked around the perimeter. The main entrance was a rolling metal door, partially open. Through the gap, I could see inside, exposed brick walls, concrete floors, old industrial equipment covered in dust, and 3 men. They weren't dressed for a dinner party. They wore dark clothes, faces obscured by the shadows. One was setting up equipment near the door. Not cameras, at least not the kind I used. These were on tripods pointing outward. Surveillance equipment. The other 2 stood near what looked like a van backed into the space. My stomach dropped. This wasn't a pop-up dinner. This was a setup. I backed away slowly, staying in the shadows, my heart hammering. I pulled out my phone to text Melissa to ask what the hell was going on, but she'd messaged me first, 30 seconds ago. We can see you outside. Come in or we come out. My blood turned to ice. I looked around frantically. No cameras visible outside, but they could see me. How? Had I already walked into the frame of their equipment? Was there someone watching from a window I couldn't see? I didn't wait to find out. I ran, not back the way I came. That would take me past the warehouse entrance. Instead, I cut down a side street, my camera bag bouncing painfully against my ribs, lungs burning in the frigid air. Behind me, I heard shouts, footsteps. They were coming. 2 blocks away, I saw Salvation. A bodega, lights on, an older man visible through the window. I crashed through the door, gasping. Please, I choked out. Call 911. There are men chasing me. They're trying to rob me. The owner didn't hesitate. He grabbed his phone, locked the door, and pulled me behind the counter while he dialed. Through the window, I saw 2 figures appear at the end of the block, looking around. They couldn't see me inside. After a moment, they turned and disappeared. The police arrived in 6 minutes. 2 squad cars, 4 officers. They took my statement, checked the warehouse. Empty. The men were gone, the van was gone, the surveillance equipment was gone. Only tire tracks and some cigarette butts remained. But the detective who interviewed me 2 days later told me I was lucky. They'd found 6 other reports matching the same pattern. Young professionals, mostly men, lured to isolated locations in Brooklyn through dating apps. Different apps, different profiles, always someone with shared interests and weeks of conversation to build trust. 2 men had been robbed at gunpoint. One had been beaten badly enough to require hospitalization. 3 others like me had gotten away when something felt wrong. The woman you talked to, the detective asked. You have her profile? I pulled up Hinge. Melissa's profile was gone. deleted, or maybe never real. The phone number she'd texted from was a burner, now disconnected. Do you think she was part of it? I asked. Or was she being forced to set people up? The detective shook his head. We don't know. Could be either. Could be she's a victim too, trapped in something she couldn't get out of. Or she's the bait, playing the role, helping them target people. I think about that a lot. The conversations we had, the connection that felt so real. Was any of it genuine? Was she a real person at all, or just a profile run by those men, crafted to target people like me? The detective said they're using AI now, chatbots that learn your interests, adapt their responses, become whoever you want them to be. It's impossible to tell the difference anymore. I deleted Hinge. Deleted all my dating apps. My camera sits in its bag now, mostly unused. I take it out sometimes, think about going somewhere to shoot, but the thought of being vulnerable with expensive equipment makes my chest tight. I still get messages sometimes on Instagram. Women who seem interested, who compliment my photography, who want to meet up somewhere quiet where we can talk about art. I never respond, because I'll never know if Melissa was real, if she's safe somewhere, or if she was sitting in that warehouse watching through those cameras, waiting for me to walk into the trap. And I'll never know how many others are still out there, swiping right, believing the connection is real, until they get the address. Working as a veterinary technician means long hours and emotional exhaustion. By the time I got home most nights, I barely had energy to microwave dinner, let alone socialize. Dating apps felt like window shopping, scrolling through possibilities I was too tired to pursue. Coffee Meets Bagel changed that. It only gave you a few matches per day, which felt manageable, less overwhelming than the endless swiping. His profile appeared on a gray November morning. Let's call him Brian. 32, worked in tech, loved hiking and trying new breweries. His photos showed a guy with an easy smile, holding a golden retriever in one shot. As someone who spent my days with animals, that was an automatic bonus. We matched. He messaged first. I saw you work at Mountain View Animal Hospital. I took my sister's dog there last year. You guys were amazing. It was thoughtful, personal, not the usual hey or pickup line. We talked about animals, about the emotional toll of veterinary medicine, about how most people don't understand that we're basically ER nurses who can't ask our patients where it hurts. He got it, or seemed to. Our first date was at Ratio Beer Works on a Sunday afternoon. He was even better in person, attentive, funny, genuinely interested in what I had to say. When I mentioned my college roommate's cat had just been diagnosed with kidney disease, he asked follow-up questions. When I told him about the difficult euthanasia I'd assisted with that week, he didn't change the subject. That must be incredibly hard, he said, taking on everyone's grief like that. It was exactly what I needed to hear. We saw each other twice a week for a month. He brought me coffee before my early shifts. He texted during the day to check in. On our fifth date, he gave me a teddy bear, a soft brown bear wearing a tiny stethoscope. For a veterinary professional, he said, grinning. Thought you could use something cute after rough days. I kept it on my nightstand. It made me smile every morning. By December, I was falling for him. Hard. He remembered everything. My favorite wine, my sister's name, which coworker I complained about. I'd never dated anyone so attentive. Then came the conversation that changed everything. We were having dinner at my apartment, pasta I'd actually made from scratch because I wanted to impress him. I was telling him about my week when he said something that made me freeze mid-sentence. That's a lot like what you mentioned about your mom, how she never validated your feelings when you were younger. It makes sense that you'd struggle with setting boundaries now. I stared at him. What? Your relationship with your mom. You were saying how it affects your people-pleasing tendencies. My fork clattered against the plate. Brian, I never told you that. He looked confused. Yes, you did. Last week, remember? No, I didn't. My heart was pounding now. I've never talked to you about my mother or therapy or any of that. The thing is, I had talked about it, just not to him. I talked about it to Dr. Chen, my therapist, 2 weeks ago in her office in Capitol Hill. We'd spent an entire session unpacking my relationship with my mother and how it manifested in my adult relationships. But I'd never mentioned therapy to Brian, never talked about my childhood, never discussed my people-pleasing issues. You must have mentioned it, he insisted, but his face had gone pale. Maybe after drinks one night. I barely drank. He knew that. After he left that night, awkwardly, with weak excuses about an early meeting, I lay in bed staring at the teddy bear on my nightstand. The bear he'd given me. The bear that sat within perfect hearing distance of every conversation I had in my bedroom, including the phone sessions with Dr. Chen when I couldn't make it to her office. I picked up the bear, squeezed it, felt something hard inside, not stuffing. My hand shook as I found scissors and carefully cut a seam in the back. Inside the stuffing was a small black device, no bigger than a quarter, with a tiny blinking green light. A listening device. I dropped the bear like it had burned me. The Bluetooth speaker he'd given me, the decorative candle, the coffee mug, the framed print of the maroon bells. I tore through every gift he'd given me over 6 weeks. Every single one had a device hidden inside. Listening devices, some with cameras. He'd been recording everything, every conversation, every phone call, every moment in my apartment. I called the police at midnight. They took it seriously, surprisingly seriously. The detective who responded asked if Brian had ever mentioned what company he worked for. Something about data analytics, I said, my voice hollow. He was vague about it. They took the devices as evidence, told me not to contact him, started an investigation. What they found was so much worse than I imagined. Brian, not his real name, worked for a company that specialized in alternative data acquisition. Basically, they collected personal information through any means necessary and sold it to whoever would pay. Insurance companies looking to deny claims, employers running background checks, marketing firms building psychological profiles. His job was to extract data from targets through relationships. He'd date women, plant listening devices, record everything for months, then compile detailed reports on their health issues, mental health history, financial problems, relationship patterns, everything. The FBI got involved when they discovered the scope. 43 women across Colorado, Wyoming, and Montana. All of them on Coffee Meets Bagel. All of them in their 20s and 30s. All of them working in healthcare, education, or other fields where their information could be valuable to third parties. My therapy sessions with Dr. Chen, discussions about anxiety, depression, family trauma, had been transcribed and sold to a data broker. That information was used to deny my application for supplemental health insurance 3 months ago. I thought it was just bad luck. It wasn't luck, it was surveillance capitalism. The lawsuit is still pending. Brian disappeared before they could arrest him. The company claimed he was a rogue contractor acting without their knowledge, then filed for bankruptcy to avoid liability. I changed my name legally in March. Not because I'm hiding from him, though that's part of it, but because my old name was tied to so much compromised data that I couldn't function, couldn't apply for jobs, couldn't rent an apartment, couldn't open a bank account without my stolen information preceding me. I found my therapy transcripts for sale on a dark web forum. Word-for-word conversations with Dr. Chen, tagged with my name, age, occupation, and address, selling for $200. 43 women, thousands of hours of recorded conversations, years of intimate moments, private struggles, whispered secrets, all packaged and sold to the highest bidder. I swept my new apartment 3 times with detection equipment. I don't accept gifts anymore. I don't do video calls. I cover my laptop camera with tape and keep my phone in another room when I'm having sensitive conversations. My roommate thinks I'm paranoid. Maybe I am, but sometimes I still get ads on social media for things I only mentioned in therapy. Specific medications, specific fears, things I never searched for, never typed, never clicked. And I know he's still out there. Maybe with a new name, a new company, a new dating app, listening, recording, downloading, selling, one teddy bear at a time. Teaching 5th grade in Nashville meant my evenings were spent grading papers and my weekends were spent recovering. At 25, my social life had shrunk to happy hours with coworkers and the occasional swipe through Bumble while watching reality TV. When I matched with him in early April, I wasn't expecting much. His name was Colin. 28, worked in finance, had that clean-cut look that usually meant boring but stable. His opening message made me laugh. Something about how teachers deserved hazard pay for dealing with 10-year-olds all day. We texted for a week before meeting for coffee, then dinner, then a concert at the Ryman. By our 3rd date, I was genuinely excited. He was attentive without being clingy, funny without trying too hard, and he actually listened when I talked about my students. Let's go to the pharmacy, he suggested for date 3. Best burgers in East Nashville. You'll love it. I'd heard of it. The old pharmacy turned burger joint with the vintage soda fountain. Very Nashville. Very Instagram worthy. I arrived first, sliding into a booth near the back. The place was packed for a Thursday night, the smell of grilled meat and fried pickles making my stomach growl. Colin showed up 5 minutes later, apologizing for traffic on Gallatin Pike, kissing my cheek before sitting down. The server appeared, a woman in her 30s with bright red lipstick and a name tag that said Kelly. She started to smile at Colin, then froze. Her eyes darted between us, confusion flickering across her face. "Welcome back," she said slowly to Colin. "Your usual table?" "This one's perfect," he said smoothly, not missing a beat. Kelly nodded, taking our drink orders, but she kept glancing at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Concern, recognition, something. The date was going well. We split the pharmacy fries, debated whether Nashville hot chicken was overrated, made plans for a hiking trip to Radnor Lake. Everything felt natural, easy, right. When Kelly brought our burgers, she leaned close to me while setting down my plate. "Can I talk to you for a second?" she whispered. "In private?" My stomach dropped. "Is something wrong with my food?" "No, just, please. It's important." I excused myself, following Kelly toward the bathrooms. She pulled me aside near the kitchen, her face serious. "I don't know how to say this without sounding crazy," she began, "but he was here yesterday. Same booth, same order, with a woman who looked exactly like you." I laughed nervously. "That's impossible. I don't have a twin." "I know it wasn't you, but she looked just like you. Same height, same hair color and length, same style of clothing. Even ordered the same burger you just ordered." The ground felt unsteady beneath me. "Maybe you're mistaken." "I'm not, and it wasn't just yesterday. He's been coming here for over a year, always with brunette women, always similar looking, always acting like it's a new relationship." My hands went cold. "How many women?" "I've lost count, but you're not the first. And they all look like they could be sisters." I stood there, processing. This had to be a mistake, a weird coincidence. Maybe Colin had a type, and this server was being dramatic. "I need to check something," I said, pulling out my phone. I'd looked at Colin's Instagram before, but only casually. Scrolled through a few photos, verified he seemed normal. Now I went deeper, months back, studying every picture. There, a photo from 3 months ago, dinner at what looked like the Southern. He had his arm around a brunette woman. Her hair was the same length as mine, parted the same way. She wore a denim jacket identical to one hanging in my closet. I kept scrolling. 2 months before that, Topgolf. Another brunette, same height, same build, same style. 6 months back, the Parthenon. Another one. 8 months, Cheekwood Gardens. Another. My hands shook as I counted. 12 different women in the past 18 months. All of them brunette. All of them similar heights and builds. All of them dressed in the same aesthetic, casual, teacher chic, the kind of style you'd find at Target or Madewell. All of them looked like variations of the same person. All of them looked like me. I zoomed in on each face, trying to find differences, but the similarities were undeniable. Same face shape, same general features, like he'd used a filter to find copies of the same woman over and over again. My throat tightened. I looked up at Kelly, who was watching me with sad, knowing eyes. "I'm sorry," she said. "I wasn't sure if I should say anything, but I couldn't let you sit there not knowing." I nodded, unable to speak. I needed to leave, right now, but I also needed to know more. "I'm going back," I said. "Act normal, please." I walked back to the booth on autopilot, my mind racing. Colin smiled when he saw me, gesturing to my burger. "Getting cold. You okay?" "Yeah, sorry. Long line for the bathroom." I picked at my fries, watching him. Really watching him. He looked so normal, so genuinely happy to be here with me. Nothing about his demeanor suggested anything sinister. That's when I saw it. He'd taken out his phone and was showing Kelly something when she came to refill our drinks. I caught a glimpse of the screen before he put it away. A photo of a woman, not one of the Instagram women. Someone different. Dark hair, yes, but her face was rounder, her smile wider. The photo quality suggested it was old, maybe 10 years. "Who is that?" I asked, trying to sound casual. His face changed, softened, saddened. "My girlfriend. She died last year, car accident." My heart lurched. "I'm so sorry." "It's okay. I'm learning to move forward, dating again, meeting people like you." He reached across the table, taking my hand. "She would have liked you." The words should have been sweet. They should have felt like a compliment. Instead, they felt like a threat. Because that woman in the photo, the one he said died, didn't look like me. Didn't look like any of the 12 women on his Instagram. She was pretty, sure, but different. Wrong hair texture, different face structure, completely different style. So why was he only dating women who looked nothing like her? Why was he dating women who all looked like each other? "I need to use the restroom again," I said, standing abruptly. "Stomach thing. I'm so sorry." Before he could respond, I grabbed my purse and walked quickly toward the back. But instead of the bathroom, I pushed through the kitchen door. A cook looked up, startled. "Emergency exit?" I asked. He pointed. I was out the door and in my car within 90 seconds, hands shaking so badly I could barely get my key in the ignition. I blocked Colin's number while sitting in the parking lot. Blocked him on Instagram, on Bumble, everywhere. 3 days later, Kelly found me on Facebook and sent me a message. "He came in again tonight, same booth, with another brunette, same height as you, same style." I asked my manager about him. "He's been doing this for 18 months, every week, sometimes twice a week. Always brunettes who look identical. None of them ever come back. I thought you should know. Be careful." I never responded. I didn't know what to say, because here's what haunts me. I don't know what he was trying to do. Replace someone, find someone, collect us. The woman who died wasn't his type. So what were we? I changed my hair, dyed it blonde, started dressing completely differently. I check behind me constantly now. I'm terrified I'll see him somewhere with another version of me, another identical date, another girl who doesn't know she's just one in a long line of the same face. 12-hour shifts at Temple University Hospital left me physically drained but mentally wired. Being a nurse means you see humanity at its worst and occasionally its best, but it also means your dating life exists mainly through a phone screen during rare breaks. I'd been on Hinge for 6 months when I matched with her in August. Her name was Bridgers. 26, graphic designer, loved vintage record stores, and trying new restaurants. Her photos showed someone naturally pretty, minimal makeup, genuine smile, the kind of woman who looked comfortable in her own skin. Our first conversation lasted until 3 a.m. I was on night shift, she was having insomnia, and we talked about everything from the ethics of healthcare to our favorite Philly cheesesteak spots. She was sharp, funny, self-deprecating in an endearing way. "I hate how fake dating apps can be," she texted. "Everyone's using their best angles and filters. Want a video chat? So you know I'm real." I appreciated that. Transparency felt rare on dating apps. We video chatted the next evening. She looked exactly like her photos. Same smile, same eyes, same easy laugh. We talked for an hour. Then the next night. Then 3 times a week, for a month. Sometimes I'd video chat with her, during my lunch break in the hospital cafeteria. She'd show me her latest design projects. I'd vent about difficult patients. It felt genuine. "We should finally meet in person," she said during our 7th video call. "I'm craving the Amish donuts at Reading Terminal Market. Saturday afternoon." Reading Terminal was perfect. Busy, public, full of food options. No pressure. I got there early, grabbing a coffee from Old City Coffee, positioning myself near the entrance where we'd agreed to meet. I was nervous in that good way, excited to see if the chemistry translated in person. At 2 p.m. exactly, someone approached me. "Hey, you must be Treasure." I stared. The woman standing in front of me was not Bridgers. Or rather, she might have been Bridgers by name, but she looked nothing like the person I'd been video chatting with. This woman was older, not 26, maybe mid-30s. Her build was different, heavier. Her face had the same basic features, but aged, weathered, like someone had taken Bridgers' face and fast-forwarded it 15 years. "Bridgers?" I asked, confused. "Yes." "Oh my God, you look just like your photos." She moved in for a hug. I stepped back instinctively. "I'm sorry. I think there's been some confusion." "What do you mean?" Her smile faltered. You look different than on video." Her face hardened. "Different how?" I didn't know how to say it without sounding horrible. "Just different." "I'm sorry, I think there's been a mistake." "There's no mistake. It's me. Look." She pulled out her phone, showing me her driver's license on the screen. The name matched, Bridgers. But the photo on the ID looked like the woman standing in front of me, not the woman I'd been video chatting with. "I don't understand," I said. "We video chatted. Multiple times. You looked the same." She smiled, but it wasn't friendly anymore. "I do look the same. You're just being shallow." Something was very wrong here. Video calls can't lie like photos can. I'd seen her move, talk, laugh in real time. Technology couldn't fake that. Could it? "I need to go," I said, backing away. Her expression shifted from defensive to angry. "You're seriously leaving? Because I don't look like some filtered Instagram model?" "No, because you lied." "I didn't lie. This is me. You're just another shallow asshole who can't see past physical appearance." People were starting to stare. A vendor at a nearby stand glanced over, concerned. "I'm sorry," I said firmly. "I'm leaving." I turned and walked quickly toward the exit. She followed. Treasure, wait. You can't just leave. We had a connection." I kept walking, out of the market, down the street toward where I'd parked on Arch Street. She was still following, her voice getting louder. "You think you're better than me? You think I'm not good enough?" I reached my car, fumbling for my keys. She was right behind me now, close enough that I could see tears streaming down her face. Tears of rage, not sadness. "Bridgers, please. I'm not trying to hurt you, but this isn't okay." "What's not okay is you judging me. I'm the same person you talked to. The same person who stayed up all night listening to your problems. The same person who cared about you." I unlocked my car. She grabbed the door handle, preventing me from opening it. "Let go," I said. "No. You owe me an explanation. You owe me a real chance." "I don't owe you anything. Let go of my car." That's when she snapped. She started screaming, wordless, guttural screaming. Before I could react, she picked up a rock from a nearby planter and hurled it at my windshield. The glass spiderwebbed, but didn't shatter. She grabbed another rock. "Hey, stop." A man jogging past had stopped, phone already out. "I'm calling the police." "He's harassing me," Bridgers screamed. "He lured me here, and now he's trying to leave." But there were witnesses now. The jogger, a couple walking their dog, a woman getting into her car across the street. All of them had stopped watching. Bridgers threw the second rock. It bounced off my hood, leaving a dent. "Ma'am, you need to calm down," the jogger said, already on the phone with 911. She rounded on him. "Stay out of this." Police arrived within 5 minutes, one of the benefits of being downtown. 2 officers, a man and a woman, approached calmly while Bridgers continued to scream about shallow men and dating app betrayal. I showed them my phone, the video call history, her profile, everything. Bridgers showed them her ID, insisted we'd had a date planned, claimed I was discriminating against her. The female officer pulled me aside. "Did the person you video chatted with look like her?" "No, not at all. Much younger, different features." "Could you identify the person from the video calls if you saw them again?" "Absolutely. It wasn't her." They asked me to pull up a video call screenshot I'd taken accidentally during one of our chats. Bridgers, laughing at something I'd said, her face clear and distinct. The officer studied it, then looked at the woman being detained by her partner. "Sir, have you heard of deepfake filters?" I had, vaguely. The things that put your face on celebrities. They're more advanced now. Real-time AI filters that can make someone look completely different on video calls. Change face structure, age, weight, everything. There have been cases of people using them for catfishing. My stomach dropped. "You're saying she used AI to look like someone else during our video calls?" "It's possible. We'll need to investigate, but your screenshots show someone who looks nothing like her. That suggests technological manipulation." Bridgers was arrested, not for catfishing, which isn't technically illegal, but for destruction of property and assault. My windshield and hood would cost $800 to repair. The judge granted me a temporary restraining order. The detective who followed up with me a week later confirmed it. Bridgers had been using a deepfake filter app during all our video calls. Real-time face manipulation sophisticated enough to fool anyone who wasn't specifically looking for it. She'd used it on multiple dating apps, creating relationships with men under false pretenses, then confronting them in person and claiming they were shallow when they reacted to the deception. I was the first one who'd filed charges. The detective thought there might be others. I deleted Hinge, deleted everything. Because here's what terrifies me. I would have sworn in court that I'd video chatted with her, that I'd seen her, real and unfiltered, moving and speaking in real time. Video was supposed to be the solution to catfishing, the way to verify someone was real. But technology had evolved, and now nothing on a screen could be trusted. Not photos, not video, not even live conversations. I look at my patients differently now when they video chat with family. Wonder if they're really seeing who they think they're seeing. Wonder if any of us can trust our own eyes anymore. February in Chicago is brutal. Wind that cuts through your coat, snow that's been plowed into gray mountains on every corner, darkness that falls before you leave work. Dating felt like a luxury I couldn't afford, but my coworker convinced me to download Tinder, saying I needed to put myself out there before I turned into a hermit who only talked to spreadsheets. At 30, I'd been on enough bad first dates to know my expectations should be low. So when I matched with her, I was cautiously optimistic but not excited. Her name was Vanessa. 28, worked in marketing, had that effortlessly cool Chicago vibe in her photos. Vintage band tees, shots at Wrigleyville bars, a selfie at the Bean that somehow didn't look touristy. We texted for a few days before she suggested meeting at Girl and the Goat. "Best restaurant in the West Loop," she wrote. My treat. I just got a promotion. I couldn't argue with that. The restaurant was packed on a Thursday night. warm, and loud in the best way. Vanessa looked just like her photos. Tall, confident, with an easy smile that made me relax immediately. We ordered the pig face, the goat empanadas, a bottle of wine to share. The conversation flowed. She was funny, asked good questions, seemed genuinely interested in my boring accountant stories. I told her about the nightmare tax season I was anticipating. She told me about her new role managing social media for a local brewery. "This place is incredible," I said, finishing my second glass of wine. "Thanks for suggesting it." "I'm glad you came. I wasn't sure you'd say yes." "Why wouldn't I?" She shrugged. "Dating apps can be so impersonal. Hard to tell if there's real chemistry until you meet." But there was chemistry. Easy, natural chemistry that made me think maybe this could actually go somewhere. By the time we finished dessert, some kind of chocolate thing with caramel I was too wine-buzzed to remember, it was past 11. We stood outside in the freezing air, breath fogging between us. "I should get an Uber," I said, pulling out my phone. "Me too. We could share one." "I'm in Logan Square. Where are you?" "Wicker Park. That's basically on the way." She smiled. "Perfect. I'll order it." I should have ordered my own. That's the thought that haunts me now. I should have insisted, should have trusted my usual paranoia, should have maintained that last boundary. But I was tipsy and cold and attracted to her, and sharing a ride felt intimate in a way I wanted. The Uber arrived in 3 minutes, a black Honda Civic, driver rating 4.8. Vanessa got in first, sliding across the back seat. I followed, giving the driver my address. He nodded without speaking and pulled into traffic. The West Loop at midnight is industrial and empty, warehouses and new condo developments interspersed with vacant lots. We headed east on Madison, exactly the right direction. I relaxed into the seat, feeling the wine and the warmth and the possibility of a second date. That's when the driver turned left instead of right. "Excuse me," I said, leaning forward. "You just missed the turn." "Different route," he said. "Construction." I pulled up my GPS. No construction alerts, no traffic. The route he was taking made no sense, heading north when we should be going east. "There's no construction," I said, firmer now. "You need to turn around." He didn't respond, just kept driving. I looked at Vanessa, expecting her to back me up, to question why we were going the wrong way. But she was looking at her phone, calm as anything. "Vanessa, he's going the wrong way." She glanced up. "Oh, he probably knows a shortcut." But her voice was wrong. Too casual, too unconcerned. My wine buzz evaporated instantly, replaced by a cold, creeping dread. I tried the door handle, locked. Child safety locks engaged. "Why are the doors locked?" I asked, my voice rising. "Safety feature," the driver said. I looked at Vanessa again. She was texting. And in the reflection of the window, I could see the driver's phone mounted on the dashboard. A message popped up on his screen from someone named Vanessa. They were texting each other. My stomach dropped. "Let me out," I said. "Right now." "We're on the highway," Vanessa said, not looking up from her phone. "Just relax." We weren't on the highway. We were heading north on Ashland, away from both our neighborhoods, away from anything familiar. Streetlights were getting sparse, buildings were getting shabbier. I pulled out my phone to call 911. Vanessa's hand shot out, grabbing my wrist. "Don't," she said. Her voice wasn't friendly anymore. "What the hell is going on?" "You'll find out soon enough. Just stay calm and this will be easier for everyone." I yanked my wrist away and started pounding on the window. "Help! Someone help!" But the streets were empty. No one to hear me. The driver turned onto I-90, heading east toward Indiana. Gary, Indiana, one of the most dangerous cities in America, just across the state line. Miles of abandoned buildings and dark streets where no one would hear you scream. They were taking me to Gary. This wasn't a date. This was a setup, a trap. "Please," I said, trying to keep the panic out of my voice. "Whatever you want, you can have it. My purse, my phone, Whatever. We want more than that, Vanessa said. I didn't ask what more meant. I didn't want to know. Think. I needed to think. The doors were locked. The windows were closed. The driver was focused on the road. Vanessa was between me and the only escape route. We were approaching a red light, the last one before. The highway opened up into long, empty stretches with no stoplights, no witnesses, no chances. This was it. My only shot. I pulled off my shoe, a pointed toe heel I'd worn to look nice for the date, and swung it as hard as I could at the window. The heel connected with the glass. A crack appeared. I hit it again. Stop her. Vanessa lunged at me. The light was still red. Cars were stopped next to us. I could see faces through windows. I hit the glass one more time, and it shattered, spider-webbing outward. I didn't hesitate. I pushed through the broken window, glass cutting my arms, and tumbled onto the street. The light turned green. Tires squealed. The Honda accelerated away. I scrambled to my feet, bleeding and shaking, and ran toward the gas station on the corner, a BP with harsh fluorescent lights and a clerk behind bulletproof glass. "Call 911, I screamed, pounding on the door. "Please, they tried to kidnap me." The clerk buzzed me in, eyes wide. Within minutes, police arrived. The Honda was gone. They checked traffic cameras, found the car heading east into Indiana, then nothing, like it disappeared. Vanessa's Tinder profile was deleted. The phone number she'd texted from was a burner. The credit card she'd used at Girl and the Goat was stolen from another woman, reported missing 3 weeks ago. The detective assigned to my case asked if I'd noticed anything unusual during dinner. Had she seemed nervous? Had she made any strange comments? She seemed perfect, I said. That was the problem. 2 days later, the detective called me back. They'd found 3 other reports matching the same pattern. Women between 28 and 35, professional jobs, meeting a woman named Vanessa, or Veronica, or Victoria, for a first date at nice restaurants in Chicago. The dates went well. They shared Ubers. They were driven to Gary. 2 had escaped. 1 had been robbed of everything: phone, wallet, jewelry, even her shoes. 1 was still missing. Her name was printed in the file the detective showed me. A photo of a smiling woman, dark hair, accountant like me. Last seen getting into an Uber after a date in January. They never found her. I moved apartments, changed my phone number, deleted all my dating apps, started taking cabs everywhere, never Uber, never Lyft, and only when I order them myself. Sometimes I see women who look like Vanessa on the train. Same height, same hair. My heart stops until they turn and I see a different face. Because she's still out there, still swiping, still matching, still suggesting nice restaurants and shared rides home, still working with that driver, heading east toward Gary, where the streetlights end and the screaming doesn't matter. And I wonder how many women said yes to that shared ride. How many of them made it home. 6 weeks into dating, someone feels like the sweet spot. Past the awkward first dates, not yet into the heavy relationship talks. Just enjoying someone's company without overthinking it. That's where I was with Harper in June. We'd met on Coffee Meets Bagel in late April. She was 31, a freelance photographer, had this artistic energy that balanced out my structured architect brain. Our first date was coffee in the Mission, which turned into walking through Dolores Park, which turned into 5 hours of conversation neither of us wanted to end. By week 6, we had a routine. She'd come to my place in No Valley twice a week after work. We'd cook dinner together, watch movies, fall asleep on my couch. It felt comfortable, normal, like the beginning of something real. "Can I stay over tonight?" she asked one Thursday evening in mid-June. We were making pasta in my kitchen, her phone buzzing constantly on the counter. "Of course," I said. "You've got a toothbrush here anyway." She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Her phone buzzed again. She glanced at it, frowned, typed something quickly. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah, just my sister. She's been going through some stuff." Her phone buzzed 3 more times during dinner. Each time she'd check it, sometimes typing back, sometimes just reading and setting it down with this tense expression. "Your sister must really need you tonight," I said, trying to keep it light. "She's dealing with a bad breakup, needs someone to vent to." But the way she held her phone, protective, secretive, didn't match casual text with a sister. She kept the screen angled away from me. Her responses were short, almost coded. After dinner, she excused herself to the bathroom. I heard the fan turn on, then her voice. Low, urgent, definitely not texting. She was on a call, whispering harsh enough that I could hear the tone even if I couldn't make out words. When she came out 15 minutes later, her eyes were red. "You okay?" I asked. "Fine, just tired. Mind if I take a shower?" "Go ahead, towels are in the closet." She disappeared into the bathroom again. The shower ran for a long time, long enough that I started to worry. When she finally emerged in my old college t-shirt, hair wet, she looked exhausted. "I think I'm going to crash," she said. "Long week." "Of course, I'll join you in a bit." She kissed me, climbed into my bed, and was asleep, or pretending to be, within minutes. I stayed up, working on blueprints for a project due Monday, my laptop open at the kitchen table. Something felt off. Harper's behavior tonight wasn't like her usual self. The constant phone checking, the secretive calls, the emotional exhaustion. Maybe she was telling the truth about her sister. Maybe I was being paranoid. Around midnight, I went to use the bathroom. The fan was still on. Harper must have forgotten to turn it off. I reached up to flip the switch and noticed something odd. The vent cover was slightly crooked, like it had been removed and replaced hastily. I grabbed a chair, stood on it, and looked closer. Behind the vent slats, something glinted. Something that shouldn't be there. I unscrewed the cover. Behind it, wedged into the ductwork, was a small camera, wireless, with a blinking red recording light. My blood went cold. I stood there on the chair, holding this tiny camera in my palm, my mind trying to process what this meant. Someone had been watching me, in my bathroom, recording everything. Harper. I climbed down, the camera still in my hand, and walked to my bedroom. She was lying on her side, facing away from me, breathing steady. But something about the rhythm felt performative, like she wasn't really asleep. "Harper," I said, "we need to talk." She didn't move. I found the camera. Her breathing stopped. Then she rolled over, eyes wide open, fully alert. Not the face of someone who'd been sleeping. "What camera?" she asked, but her voice wavered. I held it up. "This one. In my bathroom vent. Want to explain why you're recording me?" She sat up slowly, pulling the blanket around herself like armor. "It's not what you think." "Then what is it?" Tears started rolling down her face. Real tears, the kind you can't fake. "It's my ex-husband. He made me do it." "Your ex-husband?" He's not really my ex. We're still married. Separated, but legally married. He's been..." She choked on a sob. "He's been making me do this. Dating men, planting cameras, gathering information." My apartment suddenly felt like it was tilting. "Information for what?" "Robbery targets. He watches the footage, learns your schedule, figures out what you have that's valuable. Then when the time is right..." She didn't finish. "You've been helping him rob people?" "I didn't have a choice. He has things over me, evidence that could destroy my life. He said if I didn't help him, he'd..." "Where else?" I interrupted. "Where else did you put cameras?" She looked at the floor. "Everywhere." I started searching. Living room vent, another camera, kitchen smoke detector, camera, bedroom bookshelf, behind a photo frame, camera, 14 cameras total, throughout my entire apartment, watching everything I did, everywhere I went, for 6 weeks. I called 911, phone shaking in my hand. Harper sat on my bed, crying, repeating, "I'm sorry," over and over like a mantra. "He's watching right now," she said. "He knows you found them. He knows I told you." "Good," I said. "Let him watch the police arrest you." But when the sirens approached, Harper stood up. "I can't go to jail. You don't understand what he'll do to me." "Harper, don't." She ran, past me, out my front door, down the stairs. I heard the building's exterior door slam. The police arrived 3 minutes later. I showed them the cameras, told them everything. They searched my apartment and found the cameras were connected to a cloud server. Everything recorded, everything saved, everything accessible remotely. While they were documenting evidence, I checked my apartment. My laptop was gone. My external hard drive with all my work projects, my watch collection, the cash I kept in my nightstand, my passport, my grandmother's ring, everything valuable, gone, taken during the confrontation while I was distracted by Harper's confession and the cameras. The police said it was a sophisticated operation. The crying, the confession, the dramatic exit, all designed to keep me occupied while her ex-husband entered my apartment through the back fire escape and cleaned me out. They never found Harper. The name she gave me was fake. Her photos were stolen from someone else's Instagram. The phone number disconnected. They never found her husband either, if he existed at all. I installed a security system, cameras of my own, ironic as that is. Motion sensors, smart locks. I check every vent, every smoke detector, every corner of my apartment weekly. I haven't dated since. Can't bring myself to swipe right, to meet someone new, to let anyone into my space. Because Harper seemed perfect, normal, real. We had inside jokes and comfortable silences and plans for the future. I was falling for her. And the whole time, she was just documenting my life for someone else to steal. The detective told me they found evidence of 17 other victims across California. 17 men who dated Harper, or whatever her real name was, who let her into their homes, who trusted her. Some lost valuables. Some lost their sense of safety. One lost everything when they used the surveillance footage to drain his bank accounts. I was lucky, they said. I only lost things, material stuff that could be replaced. But that's not true. I lost the ability to trust my own judgment. Lost the belief that intimacy meant safety. Lost the version of myself who could invite someone into his home without checking the vents first. Some losses you never get back. Boston in October is a city defined by transitions. The chill in the air, the trees aflame with red and gold, the promise of something new as summer fades. I was coming up for breath after a tough month at the newsroom, running on coffee and deadlines, telling myself maybe this time I'd make space for a life outside breaking stories. So when I matched with him, let's call him Scott, I allowed optimism I hadn't felt in ages. No second names, no last names, just a swipe and a spark. His profile was understated, liked hiking, loved jazz, called himself a history buff. His text struck the right balance, funny without being try-hard, thoughtful in ways that felt rare. He suggested dinner at Atlantic Fish Company. It's a beacon for first dates in Boston, bustling enough to feel safe, intimate enough you notice when the person across from you is nervous. He was. Scott smiled but never held my gaze for long, fingers tracing circles around his phone, glancing at it between sips of water. "Work drama?" I asked, trying to lighten the mood. "Yeah, something like that," he said, mouth tightening. "Sorry, it's been a hectic week." We ordered food and talked. I asked about his favorite jazz albums. He asked about the wildest story I'd ever covered as a journalist. The tension never vanished, as if he was waiting for another shoe to drop. Halfway through my crab cakes, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "You're on a date with my husband. He's dangerous. Don't go anywhere alone with him." My hand froze on my fork. After several beats, I put the phone down, heart thundering, and excused myself to the bathroom. The lighting in that bathroom was cold and harsh. I reread the text 3 times, willing it to make sense, wishing it was a prank. But there was no context, no humor, just warning. I went back to the table, trying to act casual. "Scott, "This is going to sound strange, but I just got a message about you." He looked genuinely alarmed. "What? From who?" I showed him the text. He read it, color draining from his face. Look, I get these sometimes. My ex is unstable. When she finds out I'm seeing someone through mutual friends, she gets jealous. She does this to mess with me. But it says husband. She's obsessed with controlling the narrative. Sometimes she says things to scare people away. I'm really sorry. If you want to leave, I understand." He sounded so sincere. For a moment, I believed him. Dinner continued awkwardly. Scott apologized again. I excused myself one more time, feigning a phone call, and slipped into the bathroom. This time, I Googled his first name and the town he'd mentioned living in. I had enough information from our small talk. The result was chilling. A local news article appeared, obituary from last year. A woman with his last name, his wife, died under suspicious circumstances. The case remained open. No arrests had been made. My mind raced. If that text was from her, that meant she was alive. But the obituary, the open investigation, all pointed to something darker. I walked back, forcing a smile. Dinner was almost over. "You know, I'm feeling a bit off, maybe some bad seafood. Would you mind if I get going early?" He insisted on waiting with me for my cab, but I thanked him and walked toward the front. Instead of leaving through the main door, I approached the server, a young woman with a pixie cut whose name I didn't catch. "Is there a safe place in here I can wait for my ride? I have a weird feeling about my date." Her eyes widened, and she immediately glanced at her manager. Together, they led me through the kitchen to a staff exit, keeping me out of sight. The server called me a cab and waited with me until it arrived. From my seat in the back of the cab, I saw police cars pull up outside the restaurant. Scott was still sitting at our table, fidgeting, when officers approached him. 2 weeks later, a detective left a voicemail. "We traced the text to his wife's sister. She'd found out you were with Scott and wanted to warn you. The investigation is active again. You did the right thing." I never saw Scott again. He vanished before they could arrest him. Phone disconnected, apartment cleared out. I changed my own emergency contact, started warning friends before every date. I watch for nervous hands and phone glances, look for clues in conversation, and I always trust my gut feeling. Boston's autumn feels colder now. The leaves falling say everything ends eventually, but some endings are never complete. Because the text didn't just warn me, it changed everything about how I trust, how I date, how I survive. And somewhere out there, Scott might be waiting for the right person to trust him again. That's all for tonight's stories. Remember, these experiences happened to real people who trusted a swipe, a profile, a conversation. Stay safe out there. If this video gave you chills, hit that like button and subscribe to Untold Whispers for more true dating horror stories every week. Drop your own scary dating app experience in the comments below. You might be featured next. Until next time, trust your instincts. They might just save your life.